Hey everybody, welcome back to the Why Not RV podcast. I'm your host Chris, and on this week's episode, we're going to discuss the different types of RVs and then which one might be best for you. Again, I'm Chris, I'm your host. I have a small YouTube channel called Why Not RV, where my goal is to help people learn more and make less mistakes while RVing. Now, let's just dive right into it. What RV is best for you and why? So let's first start by talking about what are the different types of RVs, okay? So there is drivable and there is towable. Those are your two to start with. So the first question you have to ask yourself is, do you want to be driving your RV like a motorhome, a van, or do you want to be towing your RV like a travel trailer, fifth wheel, teardrop type of situation? So let's start with the drivable campers, okay? Now with a drivable RV, there are three classes: Class A, Class B, and Class C. Class A are your typical bus style RVs with a big, large, flat front end on the front of it. It looks like a tour bus. The driver's seat is typically in front of the front steering axle, and it maximizes the space in terms of the length. The next is technically a Class C, just because that's similar to the Class A, except for instead of the bus front end, it's got a truck front end. So you have like what looks like from the front a typical truck with a windshield, and then sometimes a camper top comes over the top of it, and that is a Class C RV. And then lastly, you have Class B RVs, which are your vans, okay? So all types of different vans are for Class B owners. Now, even within that, they're like the Class C, they call it a Super C because it's instead of built on like a regular, say, 50 chassis or F450 chassis, a Super C might be built on like a Freightliner chassis, and it looks like a semi-truck on the front, and the rest is still a very large RV. And that's just a Class C and a Super C, what the difference is there. But let's talk a little bit more about each one. So the Class A motorhomes are typically standard. There's a lot of variation here, but typically those are going to be the nicest, most luxurious, most amenities out there. And it's because the chassis that those are on are so stout that you can put so much weight on them. You can have real tile flooring, ambient heat floors, washer dryer, multiple bathrooms, multiple bedrooms, 3, 4, 5 slides. It's typically going to be your most luxurious option. And they range anywhere from 25, 27, 29 feet, all the way up to 40 plus feet long. One of my friends here has a 42-foot motorhome. And the thing is, I want to say like 28,000 pounds, 14 tons, something like that. It's ridiculous how heavy these things can be. And that's not even a very heavy one. There's ones that go way above that. So when you're driving a Class A, of course, they're usually trying to max out the height of a 13 foot 6 inches of what's legal going down the road. And they're trying to max out the length to try and get as much in there as possible for you, depending on the model, of course. You have to be aware whenever you're driving a motorhome like that, that you're very tall, you're very long, and you're very heavy. So going over a bridge, you have to know your weight so that when you're going over a bridge, you know if that bridge is rated for, because some smaller residential bridges, they might say max weight 12 tons. Well, shoot, if you're 25,000 pounds, that's 12 and a half tons. So you can't go over that bridge technically. So they come with their trade-offs. Class C's can be a little bit lighter because they're built on like a standard truck frame versus like a whole massive chassis. But it's not to excuse the fact they can still have all the same amenities depending on the manufacturer and depending on how it's built in terms of washer dryer on board, stuff like that. Now, Class B's, the vans, those are typically going to be your smallest, most agile, typically don't have a slide out. Not to say that they can't have a slide out, but it's typically just a van by itself, and it's built out with like a bed, it's a very small little kitchen area, small little bathroom area, your driver's compartment, and that's it. It's very it's a very nomadic lifestyle of living down by the river in a van, right? And it's a great thing out there for those that are minimalists that don't need much. They're outstanding because you can just get on the road. It's a van. You can park it anywhere. You can drive it anywhere. It's not like a larger motorhome where you have to worry about your weight, your length, your height, all that type of stuff. Now, let's talk about a couple benefits of a drivable motorhome versus a towable RV. So if in the middle of the night, something catches you awry, and you are that type of person that, whether you're parked in a Walmart parking lot and you just don't like what's going on around you and you want to get out of there. If you're in a motorhome or Class C or Class B, if you're just camped out overnight, there's no reason to go outside. You can close up the slides from inside. You can jump right in the driver's compartment. You can drive off without ever opening the door. Now, with a towable RV, of course, you can't do that. No matter what you do, you have to get out of the RV and into your truck or your tow vehicle. So it's just one thing to consider. A lot of people think about that type of thing. Now, the other caveat there is when you are driving a motorhome, you typically, unless you tow something behind you, you typically don't have an extra vehicle. So if you're driving a big Class A motorhome or Class C and you're not towing something behind you like a small Jeep or a small car, when you get to a destination, you don't have a car. You don't have a method of transportation getting around. Now, of course, we're in 2025. There's Uber is everywhere. There's all sorts of different rideshare apps. Of course, you can just rent a car when you get somewhere. Now, the other option to that is, of course, towing. That RV community for the Class A's and whatnot, what they call that is called a towed. When they have a towable vehicle behind them, such as like a Honda CRV, Jeep Wranglers, a lot of trucks, some SUVs, but typically they're flat towed, so it has to be able to be flat towed. Okay, and I'm not going to tell you all the vehicles of what can or cannot be flat towed. I'm just want you to keep that in mind when you're thinking about what RV might be best for you. If you are not comfortable towing a vehicle behind you like that, and you still want a vehicle somewhere you go, you might want to consider a towable. But once we get into towables, now we're talking about a little bit more difficulty when it comes to actually driving and parking it, because now you're having a trailer behind you. While a lot of people grew up towing trailers and putting boats in the launch and that type of stuff, and they can tow anything they want to, no problem. That's great, but a lot more people have never towed a day in their life. They don't know the first thing about towing, and they're very nervous to tow, a $30,000, $100,000, $200,000 RV behind them and be responsible for parking it, getting in and out of situations. Going straight down the highway, really not that big of a deal. It's pretty simple as long as you have the right tow vehicle. But when it comes to backing it up, getting it into a spot, it's a lot more difficult to get a travel trailer parked than it is, say, a motorhome, typically. Okay, and again, we're just talking about typically. But let's get into the different types of towable RVs, okay? So we talked about the drivable, where you have Class A, the big bus style. You have Class C, which is a truck front end, truck style. And then you have Class B, which is a van. Now, in the towable community, we have very large fifth wheels, we have travel trailers, and then we have pop-up campers and also truck bed campers, okay, which technically is not a towable, but we're going to throw that into the same category. So let's start with the big ones, right? The fifth wheel is about equivalent as a Class A motorhome. They're the largest, they can hold the most weight, they're the tallest, they're usually most amount of slides, most amenities, like I said, washer, dryer, etc. And again, that's not to say that a nicer travel trailer that is not a fifth wheel can have better amenities than a cheaper fifth wheel. Okay, that I'm not saying that, because there's all sorts of variation there. I'm just saying, typically speaking, the fifth wheels have the most luxury, the most amenities inside of the RV versus the next step down, which is a travel trailer, which is a bumper pull trailer. So instead of hitching up in the bed of your truck right over top of the rear axle, now it hitches up right on your bumper at your normal hitch. So the travel trailers, they range again from bumper pull trailers range from all sorts of things, right? You have, Airstreams are in that category. You have some really nice towable travel trailers. You have teardrop campers, which are much smaller. And then you also have pop-up campers. And each one of those things all serve different purposes, and different purposes for different people. Because while a typical person might say, well, I just want to buy a small, $500, $2,000 used pop-up camper because I just want to get out on the weekends with my kids, that's great. It's easy, it's small, it's light, you can get out, it has some stuff in it, might have a small little kitchen, 2 beds, this, that. It's all you need. But for someone that wants to full-time on the road and they have multiple kids or dogs and they want a little bit more comfort, they're going to want like a typical travel trailer, slides or no slides. It just depends on your needs for space. But a travel trailer can still have the amenities of a fifth wheel, such as a washer, dryer, multiple beds, bunkhouse layouts. There's such variation. Single bathrooms, 2 bathrooms. Now, teardrop campers. Okay, a teardrop camper typically has no tanks in it. It might have a freshwater tank just to like supply external shower or an external kitchen, but they usually don't have any kind of holding tank. Again, not all of them. Some of them might have a little gray tank for a little, rear kitchen type of design, but they typically don't have a bathroom is what I'm getting at. And again, not always, but a teardrop camper typically does not have a bathroom. So it's basically just towing a small bedroom behind you. If that's all you need, if that's what you're going to stay at a park that has restroom facilities and that's all you need, then there you go. If you're going to set up an external campsite restroom that's outside, there you go. A teardrop could be a great solution for you because they're super small, agile. Now, travel trailers and fifth wheels, they can range a lot in terms of the luxury and comforts within them. My Airstream, for example, didn't come with an onboard generator, but now I've put one on there, and so I can be off grid. I'm very, very comfortable, like a large toy hauler. Toy hauler fifth wheel typically comes with a generator right from the factory. Those already generator prepped and usually already have a generator built into them, so you can have power anywhere and everywhere you go, whereas a typical travel trailer doesn't have that. But again, you can add to it, so don't let that be a factor for you. Now, the next thing you want to figure out, after you figured out, do you want to drive something or do you want to tow something? And then you figure out, okay, if I want to drive something, how big of something do I want to drive? Do I want it to feel like a bus? Do I want it to feel like a regular truck? Or do I want to drive in a little van? If you're towing something, you say, do I want a big, huge fifth wheel that pivots in the rear bed of the truck? Do I want a standard travel trailer that pivots off the bumper? Or something even smaller like a teardrop camper, a pop-up camper, something like that? And actually, one more, let's talk about it, are the bed campers, right? Truck bed campers. So, of course, you have to have a pretty significant truck that has a large weight rating because those campers are pretty heavy. And again, depending on the size, but they can have 2 or even 3 slides on those things. Like they just pop out of 3 sides and the front is the only thing that doesn't do. Sometimes the top will pop up and get a little extra ceiling height for you. But when you get to a campsite, they can offload. They have legs that it stands up. You can drive the truck out and now you still have your truck while your truck bed camper can be parked at a permanent site. And you still have your vehicle that you don't have to bring in your truck bed camper everywhere with you. But the nice thing about those is when you go somewhere, say you pull over in a Cracker Barrel and you're literally just going into the bed of your truck. There's nothing towing behind you. It's very simple. Your only limitation really is going to be height depending on the size, but they can be really, really nice. I've been into some of the nicer ones and it is ridiculous how nice they can be inside. They can have a little office space, a little kitchen space, bedroom space, bathroom. It's all in the bed of your truck. It's insane how they fit it in there. Once you step into one, I swear it's like going into freaking Narnia sometimes, because it's unfathomable how this thing is in the back of a truck sometimes. But I digress. Let's get back to it. So once you've decided drivable or towable, and now you decided, like I said, bus style, truck style, van style, or you've decided a fifth wheel style, travel trailer style, what have you. The next step is to figure out what floor plan works best for you. Okay, so again, first is, do you want to drive something or want to tow something? Then it's, how big of something do you want to tow or drive? And now we're going down to, what floor plan do you want? And that is 110% individualistic. That's why there's no such thing as the best camper for me is the same as the best camper for you, because what I want is different than what you want. It's different than what your neighbor wants, different than what she wants, different than what they want. Everyone wants their own type of floor plan, and it just depends on. So my only suggestion here is get to a dealership and just walk in and out of a ton of RVs. Figure out, you'll start to see a pattern. No matter the brand, you'll go into 10 different brands. The floor plans all start to look the same, right? Where you have, like, say, a front living situation or a front sleeping situation, where the front of the travel trailer or the front of the RV is the sleeping situation, or the front of it is the living situation. Then you have like mid kitchen, front kitchen, rear kitchen. You have single bathroom, 2 bathroom. You have toy haulers, of course, which is another little category. And then you also have bunk house, right? Do you have multiple kids? You're trying to sleep multiple bodies? A bunk house might be the best thing for you. Not to say it is or isn't, but I'm just saying it's an option out there for you. Now, kitchen. How are you cooking? Do you do a lot of cooking, or do you not really do much cooking at all? All you really need is a microwave and maybe a little stovetop. Because some kitchens come with these big, beautiful islands. They take up half of the RV, whereas another RV might have a much larger living space and larger bathroom space, larger bedroom space, but the kitchen's a bit smaller because you don't really do much cooking yourself. So keeping those factors in mind of what type of floor plan is best for you. Again, it's not best for your neighbor. It's not best for me. It's not best for anyone else. I've had 3 RVs at this point, and each one has been significantly different than the last. My very first RV was a single bedroom, front bedroom, rear living, mid kitchen, with one bathroom. The second RV was a larger fifth wheel, a little bit bigger, still had a rear living and a mid kitchen, but it had two bathrooms, and the bedroom was also in the middle because we had a front bathroom, the bedroom, a mid bathroom, kitchen, and then the rear living. And then now that I don't need that anymore because we're not doing full timing and stuff like that, now I just have an Airstream. It's a 30-foot Airstream. You walk in, you're right in the living space on your right, kitchen and office space right to your left, and in the back is the bathroom and then the bedroom. So that's just what works good for me. And I really like it because when I do camp with somebody, like in the summer, I take my cousin for a camping trip. The very, very front living room area, that's where I have an extra bed be able to be set up because the couch turns into a queen size bed. Well, they're on one end of the camper and I'm sleeping all the way in the rear of the camper. So we're nice and far apart. So we have our own privacy, seclusion. There's a little divider in the middle. And that's what works good for me. But if you are a parent with a toddler and you want your kids to be sleeping real close to you, you need to be considering that whenever you're looking into different floor plans. I don't understand how some people pack in as many people as they do into these RVs sometimes. I mean, you'll get someone with 3, 4, 5, 6 kids, 2 dogs, a cat, and 2 adults all into like a 27-foot travel trailer. It blows my mind because I'm in my 30-foot Airstream by myself, very comfortable. My wife and I together when we camp, we're comfortable, but you know, it's tight space sometimes when you're walking by each other. And then if I had another set of adults or you know, teenagers in the front, living up front, and they were actually living full time, not just a weekend or a week, I mean, full time, I don't know how I could do it. And that's just me. And that's why if I had that situation going on, I would not be in my Airstream anymore. The Airstream is perfect for me now because of the style of work I do, how I'm using the camper. When I'm using the camper, it's perfect for me. But again, you got to find out what's good for you. And at the end of the day, you're not going to find the perfect camper. It took me 3 campers and multiple years of traveling to figure out exactly what I wanted and what I wanted moving forward. Versus, you know, if I just overthought that and I was like, no, this isn't the right perfect thing. I want this, I want that. Before you know it, you're going to be 3, 4, 5 months into looking at an RV and you're going to either talk yourself out of it. You're going to say this is, you're not going to do it. You're not going to travel. And I'm telling you, the freedom and flexibility you get out of the RV, at the end of the day, just fine. Do you want to drive something? You want to tow something? Figure that out. And then just get something. Get something. Get on the road. I promise you, your first RV is not going to be your last RV because you're going to figure out what you like about it, what you don't like about it, what you wish it might have amenities-wise or slides-wise or this, that, the third, other things. And then now a year later, 2 years later, you can trade, you can sell it, you can get a new one, and you'll figure out what's better for you as you progress in RVing. But the first step is just get out there, get on the road, use this thing like it's supposed to be used, whether you're using it for travel, for work, for leisure, for family, get out and use it. There's a small statistic out there. I'm not sure exactly how accurate this is, but essentially it goes 1 in 10 families in America own an RV. Now that can be a Class A or it can be a pop-up camper, okay? So 1 in 10. Of those 10% of Americans that own RVs, less than 10% of them use the camper more than 5 days a year. That's essentially like a long weekend and a regular weekend. So if you have a camper and you're not using it, you have a teardrop camper and you're not using it, get out and use it. That's why you bought it in the first place. Make those memories. Build that time with your family, with your kids, with your nephews, with your parents, whatever the case is. I guarantee you have parents and you have an RV, go somewhere. I bet no matter where you live, there's somewhere within a 2 to 3 hour range that's a little bit of a destination spot for other people. You might not think about it because you live in the local area, but go visit those areas, get in, get out, go out and explore with your RV. Enjoy the time on the road. That's all I can really say. That's all I'm going to leave you with today. Thank you so much for listening to the Why Not RV podcast. We'll see you next time.